Many loudly condemn the United States daily, yet they remain silent when their fellow Christians are slaughtered in Syria, Africa, Iran, and across the Middle East. Silence in the face of Christian bloodshed while endlessly criticizing Western politics reveals selective morality. We're living in a time where many voices claim the name of Christ, the Messiah, but very few reflect the character of the Messiah. See, this is not about attacking people. Scripture warns us against that, but it does call us to discernment. The Bible is clear that believers are meant to correct one another in love, not weaponize truth for influence or applause. See, Paul writes in Ephesians 4, verse 15, he says, "Speak the truth in love so that we may grow up in every way into him who is the head, Christ, the Messiah." And again, in Galatians 6, verse 1, he says, "If anyone is caught in a transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness." Correction actually is biblical, but public humiliation is not. When I look at modern media, like modern media figures who openly claim Christianity, including, unfortunately, Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson recently, I want to be very clear. This is not a judgment of their salvation. That belongs to God and God alone. But fruit does matter. Yeshua said in Matthew 7, verse 16, he said, "You will recognize them by their fruits." And when speech is consistently marked by anger, mockery, division, and public accusation, we should pause and probably be slower to cheer. Many justify this tone by saying, "I'm just pursuing the truth." But Scripture never permits truth to override obedience. See, in James 1, verse 20, he says, "The anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God." Paul warns again in 1 Corinthians 13, "If I have all knowledge and all truth, but have not love, I am nothing." Truth without love is not truth as God defines it. It's just information detached from holiness. The apostles repeatedly warned believers not to devour one another publicly. Paul says in 2 Timothy 2, verse 14, he says, "Warn them before God against quarreling about words, which does no good and only ruins the hearers." Peter adds in 1 Peter 3, verse 9, he says, "Do not repay evil for evil or insult for insult, but with blessing." Yet today, many so-called Christians platforms, they thrive on constant outrage, mockery, and political hostility, all while invoking Yeshua's name or Jesus' name. That should concern us. Here's another hard truth. Many loudly condemn the United States daily, yet they remain silent when their fellow Christians are slaughtered in Syria, Africa, Iran, and across the Middle East. Where's the outrage then? These are our Arab Christian brothers and sisters. Where are the tears? Where is the intercession? Scripture tells us in Hebrews 13, verse 3, "Remember those who are mistreated as if you yourselves were suffering." Silence in the face of Christian bloodshed while endlessly criticizing Western politics reveals selective morality, not biblical courage. We also see protests today that shout loudly about what they hate, but can't articulate what they are building or what they want. That is not biblical justice. The prophets always named both the sin and the solution. In Micah 6, verse 8, he tells us exactly what God desires: to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Rage without righteousness is not prophetic. It's just noise. This is how shallow faith becomes no faith at all. When scripture is quoted without submission, or truth is spoken without obedience, or Christ is named without his character, man begins to reshape God instead of submitting to him. Jesus warned us about this in Matthew 15, verse 9. He says, "They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules." He also says that in Mark 7, verse 6. Believers, we are not called to win arguments. We are called to reflect Christ. The world does not need louder Christian voices. It needs holier ones. Let us be people who correct with humility, speak truth with love, defend the persecuted, and refuse to trade obedience for influence. Because when Christ is truly followed, his light cannot be mistaken. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.